Aaron Simplon said, "Hut's hut."
The lucky one said, Hurst.
Aaron Simplon said, "Rut's rut."
Aaron simply said, Ruff.
For the heart
Push me, and then just touch me.
Aaron Simplime said, Rush.
I said, "Trush."
Mimi said, "Truth."
Mimi said, Truth Yata.
The lucky one said, Truth.
I said, at TRUSH.
Mimi said, boss.
Mimi said, Loss.
Loss. Hello, good evening sa inyo lahat. Tawanan ako ng sa Trush.
Claire said, "Symbols."
Symbols.
Claire said, "Simple."
Claire said, "Sly."
Preetha DV 581 said, "Sly."
Salamat ulit.
Claire said, "Boss."
Preetha DV 581 said, "Boys."
Mimi said,
Symbols is
"Symbols."
already given. Ayan sa screen. So,
Claire said, "Sly."
Sly already given.
Preetha DV 581 said, "SOY."
Soy.
The lucky one said, "Soy." Mimi said, "Soy."
Hello sa apat nating viewers. Maraming salamat po.
Claire said, B-O.
Mimi said, sob.
Claire said, well, up.
Preetha Devi 581 said, lob.
Fedio Caro said, lob sob.
Cleano Shop said, rude.
Preetha Devi 581 said, cure. Claire said, crude.
Fetty Alcaro said, crude do rude door.
Cleano Shop said, cure.
Cleano Shop said, rude.
Preetha Devi 581 said, crude.
Fetio Caro said, Ru.
Claire said, Q, red.
Cleano Shop said, do.
Claire said, do.
Betty Alcaro said, crude.
Preetha Devi 581 said, red.
Preethi Devi 581 said, Q.
Cleano Shop said, Q.
Claire said, Q.
Preetha Devi 581 said, head.
Claire said, head.
Cleano Shop said, head.
Fedio Caro said, head.
Mimi said, hack.
Claire said, ace. Cleano Shop said, ace.
Preethi Devi 581 said, 8.
Cleano Shop said, deek.
Cleano Shop said, beak. Mimi said, ache.
Cleano Shop said, each. Claire said, arch.
Cleano Shop said, each. Claire said, each.
Mimi said, deck.
Fetty Alcaro said, ace. Cleano Shop said, had. Fetty Alcaro said, cad. Mimi said, had. Preethi Devi 581 said, meat.
Fetty Alcaro said, helmet.
Preethi Devi 581 said, sheet. Preethi Devi 581 said, let's. Fetty Alcaro said, sheet. Preethi Devi 581 said, melts. Fetty Alcaro said, helm's helm. Mimi said, seam. Fetty Alcaro said, sleet sheet. Fetty Alcaro said, me lead.
Preethi Devi 581 said, these.
Pixie said, themes.
The Lucky One said, helmets.
Fetty Alcaro said, less let's. Preeti Devi 581 said, theme.
Kane Lee said, helmets.
Fetty Alcaro said, theme.
Preeti Devi 581 said, mesh.
Kinley said, heels.
Pixie said, melts.
Fetty Alcaro said, film. Canely said, else. Preeti Devi 581 said, else. Sweet as Dolce said, else.
Kane Lee said, seam.
Fetty Alcaro said, else. Mimi said, stem.
Sleep? No,
Fetty Alcaro
Alicia
said, seam.
Fetty Alcaro said, sleet.
Kane Lee said, steel.
Preeti Devi 581 said, helm. Fetty Alcaro said, steel. The lucky one said, them. Canely said, the. Sweet as Dolce said, heat.
Pixie, meron na
Pixie
tayong
said, steel.
Ayan, heal.
Pixie
Mapamanood
said,
lang tayo.
steel.
Hindi
Preeti Devi 581 said, heal. Helen Zaparita said, heal.
Kane Lee said, the.
Canely said, the.
Them meron na.
Mimi said, heal. Mimi said, them.
Pixie said to them.
Pixie said, them.
Kaya natin lucky one.
The lucky one said,
Nga
melt.
ba ang last word? Yep. It is melt.
Preeti Devi 581 said, eels.
The lucky one said, council. Preeti Devi 581 said, council.
Preeti Devi 581 said, coin.
Helen Zaparita said, oil. Preeti Devi 581 said, coil. Pixie said, coil. Preeti Devi 581 said, con. Helen Zaparita said, ion. Helen Zaparita said, icon.
Preeti Devi 581 said, lion.
Pixie said, icon.
Ay, hello sa 7 viewers natin dyan. Good evening po.
Mimi said, radio.
Mimi said, rad.
Helen Zaparita said, radio.
Pixie said, air.
Preeti Devi 581 said, roid. Mimi said, air. Helen Zaparita said, raid. Pixie said, raid. Mimi said, road. Helen Zaparita said, road. Helen Zaparita said, air. Pixie
Last
said,
one.
road.
Ends with letter D.
Thetsky Agustin said, red, Rod.
Helen Zaparita said, aid.
Pixie said, aid.
Thatsky Augustin said, aid.
Iod.
Thatsky Augustin said, IOD.
The lucky one said, rad.
You get it right.
Helen Zaparita said, rid.
Same answer.
Thatsky Augustin said, red. The lucky one said, OSM.
Possum.
Helen Zaparita said, soup.
Mimi said, pop.
Mups.
Mimi said, mups.
Helen Zaparita said, pop.
No such word as mup.
Mimi said, MUP. The lucky one said, pompous.
Galing ah. Galing yung lucky one.
Aaron Simply Me said, pops.
Helen Zaparita said, some.
Yan yung poopsam.
Thatsky Augustin said, poopsum.
Poopsam? Sure they just
Aaron Simply said, pop.
Helen Zaparita said, mom. Thatsky Augustin said, moo. Pixie said, mop.
Mimi said, ma. Aaron Simply Me said, mop. Thatsky Augustin said, mop.
Pixie said, P.O. up.
Aaron Simply Me said, poo then MP. The lucky one said, poo.
Hello there, yeah. I guess that is fun.
Thatsky Augustin said, tuna. Helen Zaparita said, tuna.
Okay, tuna. What's next? Tuna.
Thatsky Augustin said, ant. Helen Zaparita said, Walt.
Pixie said, Walt.
Mimi said, want. Thatsky Augustin said, ant.
Helen Zaparita said, ant.
Right. Walnut.
Thatsky Augustin said, law. Mimi said, walnut.
Thatsky Augustin said, lawn. Aaron Simply Me said, walnut.
Mimi said, walnut.
Aaron Simply Me said, lawn.
Aaron Simply Me said, nut. Aaron Simply Me said, tan.
Thatsky Augustin said, nut.
Whimsical Jean said, tulog na.
Pixie said, nickel.
Hello, Jean.
The lucky one said, nickel. Thatsky Augustin said, lice. Helen Zaparita said, nickel. Mimi said, line.
Pixie said, Nile.
Mimi said, lice.
Whimsical Jean said, hello.
Pixie said, nice.
Helen Zaparita said, nice.
Thatsky Agostin said, neck.
Helen Zaparita said, link.
Thatsky Agostin said, link.
Pixie said,
Matutulog ka na
L-I-C-K.
ba, Jean?
Helen Zaparita said, inked. Thatsky Agostin said, lie. Whimsical Jean said, Anya one. Sarong said, lie.
Thatsky Agostin said, Nike.
Helen Zaparita said, kin.
The lucky one said, ice.
Mimi said, ink.
Mimi said, neck.
Thatsky Agostin said, Nile.
Helen Zaparita said, lice.
Mimi said, Nile.
The lucky one said, Nick.
Wala na sumagot.
The lucky one said, Lee and K.
Nandiyan ka pa ba, Jean? Sabi ko, Jean, where are you?
Whimsical Jean said, yeah.
Sabi ko, ikaw dapat matulog na.
Mimi said, genius.
Whimsical Jean said, Anya da. Whimsical Jean said, skincare. Mimi said, sun. Mimi said, sin. The lucky one said, sign.
Mimi said, use.
Mimi said, sung. Mimi said, sing.
The lucky one said, using.
Mimi said, using. Mimi said, gins.
Mimi said, guns.
Mimi said, gun. The lucky one said, G1N.
Mimi said, NES. Mimi said, neg. Mimi said, nug.
No, Mimi. Letter S nagsisimula yung last word.
Mimi said, sug.
Mimi said, Sue.
Hello. Welcome back po.
Marie Maricari said, Sue.
Marie Maricari said, good evening, host.
Marie Maricari said, videos.
The lucky one said, videos.
Marie Maricari said, video. The lucky one said, vice.
Good night, Jean.
Mimi said, void.
Sleep well.
Whimsical Jean said, good night.
Marie Maricari said, vice.
Marie Maricari said, dive. Mimi said, side.
Marie Maricari said, does.
Mimi said, dove. Marie Maricari said,
Marie Maricari said, dove.
Marie Maricari said, D1E.
Mimi said, near.
Mimi said, R.
Mimi said, ear. The lucky one said, antenna.
Mimi said, earn.
Mimi said, arena.
The lucky one said, area.
Mimi said, ran.
The lucky one said, era.
Good game, okay. So it starts with letter P. Paboritong pagkain.
Mimi said, let. The lucky one said, pretzel.
Teal.
Mimi said, teal.
Repel.
Mimi said, repel.
Mimi said, pet.
The lucky one said, purr.
Archangel Zyro said, tree.
Archangel Zyro said, pier.
Sweets.
Archangel Zyro said, sweets.
Tissue.
Uriah said, tissue. Archangel Zyro said, suit. Uriah said, tissues.
Archangel Zyro said, suits.
Uriah said, sweet.
Uriah said, issues. Uriah said, sets.
Uriah said, issue. The lucky one said, issue.
RV said, tissue.
Satyr said, sight.
Uriah said, sights. Uriah said, sue.
Uriah said, sues.
Satyr said, uses.
Satyr said, sets.
Nessa said, sits.
The lucky one said, sues. Setter said, ties.
RV said, seus.
Nessa said, ability.
Satyr said, ability.
Satyr said, alibi. Nessa said, bald.
Nessa said, live. Satyr said, tail.
RV said, bat.
Nessa said, tail. Nessa said, bay. Nessa said, lat. Nessa said, tab.
The lucky one said, lay.
Nessa said, lit. Nessa said, tab.
Satyr said, lit.
Harvey said, bait.
Nessa said, bail.
The lucky one said, bit. Satyr said, bait.
Nessa said, bait.
Satyr said, lab.
Nessa said, lab.
Nessa said, lay.
Mariel Ivanov Basar said, lat.
Harvey said, lab.
Miriam Ivanov Basar said, lay. Nessa said, knees.
Harvey said, knees.
Nessa said, see.
Nessa said, seen. Satyr said, seek. Nessa said, keen.
The lucky one said, keen.
CML 4410 said, keen.
Nessa said, came in.
Satyr said, mini.
Nessa said, mint.
Harvey said, mint.
Nessa said, pit. Nessa said, rit. Harvey said, rip.
Nessa said, tip.
CML 4410 said, trip.
Nessa said, MIT. Nessa said, tin.
Harvey said, print. Nessa said, pit. Satyr said, imprint. Nessa said, pint. CML 4410 said, imprint.
Nessa said, pim.
Nessa said, pin.
Nessa said, trip.
Harvey said, trip.
Satyr said, trip.
CML 4410 said, trim.
Nessa said, trim.
W.
Satyr said, whiskey.
Nessa said, she.
Nessa said, his. CML 4410 said, whiskey. Nessa said, yes.
CML 4410 said, wise. Harvey said, way. CML 4410 said, key.
CML 4410 said, sky.
Nessa said, sick.
Satyr said, hike.
The lucky one said, way.
Nessa said, hike.
Nessa said, psych. Harvey said, his.
CML 4410 said, wish.
Nessa said, wise.
Nessa said, key.
Nessa said, ski.
Satyr said, whiskey. Nessa said, hey.
Ruth said, ski.
CML 4410 said, whisk.
The lucky one said, keys.
Nessa said, sky.
Marty said, whisk.
Jan said, shy.
Hello, Ruth. Thank you for the follow.
Nessa said, shy. CML 4410 said, why?
Harvey said, hey.
Jan said, key. Nessa said, why? Satyr said, yes.
Harvey said, she. Nessa said, Sue. Nessa said, sigh. Marty said, he's. Nessa said, hi. Shen said, he's.
CML 4410 said, so.
CML
Satyr said,
4410. Tingnan natin kung ito ba yung
Jan said, so.
Sue.
Marty said,
Alright.
OKN.
Sue is the
Harvey said,
last
so.
answer.
Nessa said, sigh.
Okay, next.
Nessa said, he.
Jan said, parts.
CML 4410 said, strap.
Nessa said, sat. Jan said, art.
Satyr said, parts. Marty said, star.
Jan said, part.
CML 4410 said, parts.
Nessa said, Pratt's.
CML 4410 said, past.
Nessa said, art. Harvey said, star.
Nessa said, parts.
Nessa said, sar.
Nessa said, tap.
Nessa said, trap. Harvey said, par. Nessa said, fart.
Satyr said, spa. Marty said, sap.
Nessa said, rap. Marty said, arp.
Jan said, sap.
CML 4410 said, tap. Jan said, apt.
Marty said, sat. Marty said, ART.
It's Majaja said, apt.
Satur got it right. The answer is
Jan
correct.
said, sat.
Nessa said, pat.
Satyr said, R4T. Nessa said, sat.
Marty said, raw tea.
CML 4410 said, asp.
Nessa said, feed.
Marty said, need. Nessa said, need.
Marty said, end.
Jan said, fenced.
The lucky one said, fenced. Satyr said, fenced.
Nessa said, D.
Jan said, fee.
Nessa said, fee. Marty said, fence. Marty said, feed. Jan said, fed. Satyr said, fence. Nessa said, dense.
Marty said, den. CML 4410 said, D. Marty said, land. Jan said, land.
Sarong said, van.
AJ said, land.
Marty said, van.
Satyr said, vandal.
Jan said, vandal.
CML 4410 said, lava. Marty said, and.
Nessa said, lad.
Marty said, lava.
Jan said, navel.
Satyr said, navel.
Nessa said, blot. Marty said, navel. Marty said, false.
CML 4410 said, leaves.
Nessa said, seal.
Sarong said, seal.
Satyr said, safe.